Has anyone ever challenged you to something you are an expert at without them knowing it? If so, how did it turn out for them? You? Not me. But I remember a story of a kid whose dad was remodeling their garage and he was going over the drawings with the inspector who had a chip on his shoulder and was saying that the designs wouldn't work. The dad was disagreeing, saying that it would, going back and forth. The dad then asks if he would improve it if he had a pay sign off on it. The inspector agrees and the dad goes inside and gets his pay stamp and stamps the drawing. At a BBQ last summer, my friend's nieces, kind of bratty little things, were playing on the trampoline. They were doing front flips and things. They challenged me to do what they were doing. Little did they know that I had 15 years of gymnastics and 6 years of trampolining history. I launched in with a straight double back somersault. That simultaneously impressed them and reminded me of the value of a good warm-up. I bought a house and had a guy offer us a $20 Lowe's card to give us an in-home demonstration of water filtration technology. He came in and set up and started his spiel. He asked me what I do for a living, and I replied that I am a chemist at a water treatment plant. He stopped for a second and said, "You probably know more about this stuff than I do." He then asked to talk with my wife, who refused. He packed up and left without continuing the demo. Never got my $20 Lowe's card. That guy could have taken that as opportunity to learn from you and up his game. I sort of did that. I was jokingly challenging my philosophy teacher with a 1-meter ruler. Sort of like a sword. He grabbed a pointer and completely disarmed me. Apparently when he was at Oxford he had done fencing. And for quite a while after that. F-king British classrooms. Owner of the restaurant I work at brings in this gimmicky as seen on TV vegetable dicer. The kind where you still have to use a knife to get the food small enough to dice. I laughed at him as he tried to tell me how much time it's going to save us in the kitchen. He challenges me. 3 onions. Small dice. Wiener gets a case of beer. I've been cooking professionally for close to 2 decades. So long story short, that was some good beer. I was at the gym at work and there's a fit looking older guy running on the treadmill. There's also another guy there wandering around. Not really working out but trying to talk to everyone and offer advice. What is it with guys thinking girls need help in the gym? Haha. Just being a pest in general. He wanders over to the guy running and starts asking him what he's training for. Running guy answers ultra marathon in a few weeks. Annoying guy is impressed but jokingly and says, "Will you win?" RG. Probably. AG. Oh. Hahaha. Yeah. You've always got to be positive, right? RG. Well, I've won it for the last 3 years and the closest person to me was 50 minutes behind me. So yeah. I'm pretty positive. I surreptitiously checked out his name on the sign-in register and went back to my desk to Google him. Yep. Multiple records for ultra marathons. 24 hours road and treadmill races. 48 hours treadmill races. Not an expert. But I was invited to a Christmas party last year. They had a dessert competition. Not very many people knew I'm going to college for culinary arts. Won unanimously. He told me that he wanted a rematch next Christmas. I'm taking my baking class this semester. Good luck, mister. If you crush someone at making dessert, of course they want a rematch. That means they get to eat your dessert again. At the county fair I was on the receiving end of some unnatured heckling from a couple of farm hands. Real good ole boy types. They were being dickheads to everybody who signed up for the skid loader rodeo. Smack talking anybody with how shitty hot they are and how anybody else is just embarrassing themselves. For whatever reason they especially targeted me with their Lamasource rural Iowa smack talk. It got to the point where the one got on my face. To make a boring story short, I manage an agricultural business. All I do at said business is operate a skid street tractor. I won $10 and made a pair of brothers eat crow. This is the most country thing I've ever read. In the Marine Corps they do a lot of wrestling grappling as training and exercise. Well, for a Marine I was a pretty unimposing looking person. Little did they know that I had been doing Jiu-Jitsu, a form of grappling, for about 4 or 5 years before joining. So more than a few times I would have these big weightlifter meathead types challenge me to grappling only for me to wipe the floor with them. It kind of became a joke once people caught on, and when we would get new guys to the unit, the guys in the know would trick them into grappling against me. I was pretty good at Gears of War. Gears of War 2 comes out and a kid at school was having a tourney at his house the weekend after the game released, and my buddy invited me over. The kid was talking so much tea the whole time, but mostly to me. Guess he didn't like me. I finally have had enough and said the typical 1v1 me bro, and we get to it. Execution mode on River, my best map. I was asked to leave his house by his dad after I won because I made his 16-year-old rage and put a hole into their wall. Edit. Holy fat balls, I sleep, go to work and come home to see that this thread and my comment blew the FCK up. Dad should have asked his son to leave and adopted you. I had just come back from the Ultrazone laser tag national championships when my office announced that we were having a laser tag team building event. The 90s were a wonderful time. I'm just waiting for that day someone challenges me to take the derivative of a function. I occasionally encounter anti-nuclear folks to try to converse with me about how nuclear energy is the worst thing that has ever happened to the world. What they don't know is that I have a master's degree in nuclear engineering. When I tell them, and then tell them that coal power releases more radiation into the atmosphere than nuclear, they tell me that I am biased and walk away. Edit. Well, this basically turned into an AMA. I will answer you guys questions, but I am at work right now, so don't expect immediate answers. A friend of mine once said, if nuclear power is a disaster waiting to happen, coal power is an ongoing disaster. Nerd moment. Someone once challenged my general knowledge of Batman and they were sorely mistaken. I was at a training class in Arizona a few years ago for people in a bunch of different industries. One guy was the head of quality for a particular and well-known winery in California. We all go out to dinner and this guy orders a fairly expensive glass of wine from his winery at a restaurant. They brought over the wine, and when he sipped it, he let the waitress know that this was not the wine he ordered. She assured him it was and brought him another glass. Again. He insisted it was not the right wine. Finally, the manager came over and our guy revealed himself as head of quality for the winery. The manager stumbled trying to make up a poor reason and admitted they ran out and figured they would replace it with a very similar, and as it turns out much cheaper, wine. The look of smug satisfaction on our guy's face was priceless. Mario Kart 64. This was back in college. And I didn't actually realize how good I was. I had spent countless hours in that game just messing around in all the levels. Finding the silly little tricks you can do to shave off time. Practicing my banana peel aim. And perfecting the art of the upside down question mark. Some guys in my dorm challenged me. And I was just like, sure. Wiped the floor. I was flabbergasted. I had been trash talking myself and each other. And at the end of the whole thing, they just stared at me like I was a monster before breaking out into holy shts. So they commenced in inviting their champ over to teach me a lesson. I just idly chatted the whole time while I lapped the guy on Rainbow Road. To his and everyone else's dismay, I don't even know. Most useless mastery ever? Edit. Spelling corrections. Thanks. Swipe. Comma and obligatory. This is my highest voted post. Incredulity. Not challenged per se. But I had a guy start speaking Gremlin to me in Australia once, so I answered him in kind. I was working in a ticket booth at the time and I assume he was either trying to make me look dumb, impress me, or impress his friends. My German isn't great, but I have enough that I could reply to him. His friends laughed. It felt good. For a while I thought Gremlin was some strange comic book language. I was at a software engineering conference in January, and a colleague saw my terminal with pink text running Vim, a text editor for Unix systems, and said, I bet you can't even exit out of that thing. Background. Vim is a tool that has a notoriously steep learning curve for beginners. I'm a woman doing a computer science degree, and I always make a point of not hiding toning down my love of doing hair, makeup, and dressing up. So I'm used to the shock I get when I tell people I'm in CS. It's not always their fault. Stereotypes exist. Some people are just bigger dicks about it than others and assume I have no clue what I'm doing. Anyways, the look on his face when I showed him what I knew was priceless. After many large projects using Vim as your sole editor, you learn many things. Unfortunately, yes. It never turns out well because I make vaccines for a living. People posting on Facebook. New parents discussing why they don't want to vaccinate their newborns. Friends and relatives talking about the latest sensationalist story they heard on why big pharma is a terrible, evil conspiracy. I've been in the industry for 6 years now. Have an education in chemical engineering. I've worked with live infectious diseases, primarily pertussis and polio. Been part of the manufacturing process from growing the bacteria, inactivation lysing, purification, vial filling, start to finish. I know how they work, what the history of how they used to be made is, how seriously pharma companies take adverse events, and I know firsthand how dangerous these diseases can be. But it doesn't matter because that picture that someone shared on Facebook with a sad story about their child dying obviously knows more than me. Even when I try to explain how it actually works, their eyes glaze over and nothing gets through. It's really frustrating having all the answers to every one of their concerns and not being able to reassure them because they're too stupid to understand basic biology. Not a challenge per se, but I'm a cricketer, and when I went to the new club, I told everyone I was a fast bowler. I don't look the part though, 5'8" and on the chubby side. Usually fast bowlers are lean and well over 6 feet, so naturally everyone thought I was gonna be a waste of time. Not only that, they all let me know that I should try out as a batsman or a spinner to improve my chances. The premier bowler in that club could bowl at speeds up to 135 kph on a good day. My first ball after a short warm-up clocked in at 132 kph. No one has dared make a joke about my height and body shape again. I have no idea what any of that means. But you sure sound like an expert on it. My dad is pretty much a pool pro, and this guy challenged him to a game talking hotch tea. Well, my dad didn't miss one shot, and when he sunk all the solids he started shooting the guy's stripes. TL. DR, my dad is so badass he goes balls deep with other guys' balls. I'm the boss owner at my company and mostly just work in the office. Every year we have a Christmas party in the workshop with all of our rough outside workers. Lots of beer, etc. One year my partner hired a pool table and all the guys who played in the bars every weekend were surprised that I whacked their asses. Next year it was a ping pong table. Same thing. The third year a table soccer game. If we ever bring in a pinball game I'll have the quadrilla. Have you considered a possibility that you have some smart employees and they decided that winning against their boss is not exactly a career advancing move? Back in my school's anime club, we had this kid. I think the term is weeboo, who wouldn't stop bragging about how good his Japanese is, and how the rest of us should call him sensei. Apparently, he had been taking Japanese since middle school. I was actually raised in Japan. Turns out all he could do was elementary level Japanese. Couldn't even understand a single bit of colloquial Japanese or write more than a few basic sentences. I play Star Wars CCG, collectible card game, competitively. Yeah. I know. It's been out of print for like 14 years now. But we still have an active community. A few years back I was playing a pickup game online against a random guy. He was playing a pretty traditional deck and I was playing a deck that at the time looked absolutely terrible on paper, but worked beautifully. The matchup was especially bad for him. And I'm a pretty strong player. As soon as I saw what he was playing, I knew I was going to win. And informed him of this. And I totally destroyed him. He kinda goes on tilt and he's talking shitty about my deck. Let's play again. No way will I lose to that pile of trash 2 games in a row. I shrug my shoulders and win handily again. He still insists that my deck is terrible. Then I inform him. This deck just got second at Worlds a couple months ago. Trust me. It's pretty good. Yeah. Well, who played it? The deck looks terrible. I did. Someone told me to go FCK myself. Idiot didn't know I was practicing for that for years. I'm no expert, but I've logged way too many hours of Super Smash Bros on N64. Somehow at parties we end up bringing out the N64. I play really well and guys aren't a fan of a girl winning with a pink Samus. I love you. Wait. Played cool Nightwing. So. In college I ended up walking into a party while a guy was ranting about Americans being self-absorbed and rarely bothering to go abroad or otherwise pay any attention to other countries. I entered the room and he said, "For instance," and turned to me. "When was the last time you or any of your relatives were in a country other than the United States?" I blinked at him and went, "Well, I'm Canadian." Everyone else burst into laughter. I used to be in the England badminton squad when I was younger, like 10-12, and played county from 12-14 but then gave it up to play rugby. We had a new pay teacher who liked to get involved and join in, and he seemed to think he was very good at badminton and he fronted the after school club, which I didn't go to. He offered a game to everyone in the class and said if someone got within 5 points of him, scoring goes first to 21 points wins, he would give them a Q20. I was nominated by the rest of the class and I ended up winning 21-7 despite him being about 25 years old and a pretty decent player. Needless to say he was pretty embarrassed. Original Halo. Used to work at a school. Few kids were talking trash. Long story short, we grabbed 2's boxes after school. Hooked them up. 3-on-2 quickly turned into a 1v4 massacre of epic proportions. 50 to 2 or 3. Kids think they old school. They saw me nading. They hat in. Pistoling Mothurfka riding dirty. A co-worker wrote a short melody on his whiteboard and challenged anyone to name that tune. I have a music degree. And excelled in sight singing. I sang it out loud. First time through. And told him the name, Ride of the Valkyries. Best response was the guy next to me who then said, "You can read music?" In college, a coworker of mine hosted a hearts tournament. Buy-in was like $10 and the top person from each of the 8 tables were matched up to play each other in 2 games. And then the top 2 of those played in the championship game. I asked to join in since he needed people to fill the tables. Do you even know how to play? It won't be like playing on the computer. You know. I think I can manage. Okay. I can give you some pointers if you like. I'm pretty good. I learned how to play hearts at 4. And it's something my family did throughout my childhood. I've always been able to count cards, I guess you would say, and keep track of everything that has been played. I won the championship round with a score of 7. For those of you who don't know, it's like golf, when a player crosses 100 points. The player with the lowest score wins. The person with 118? MR. Let me know if you need any help. That $320 helped pay my rent. Thanks. Dude. Not exactly on topic because they know it. But I am really fast at doing math in my head. Adding. Subtracting. Multiplication and division. My kids like to play dad versus the calculator. They give me an equation and I can usually give them the answer without using paper and pencil before they can get the answer using a calculator. On street. Patrick's Day 3 years ago, some guy challenged me to Irish step dance off. What this guy didn't realize was that he decided to start a dance off against a world champion Irish dancer. I had all my drinks paid for after that. Not exactly expert. But I am bilingual. I come from the US but moved to Poland when I was about 6 years old. I'm now 23. However, I don't have an unusual accent in either language. I sound like a normal American when I speak English. And I sound like a normal Pole when I speak Polish. I've had multiple situations where I've corrected someone's English. They challenge me. Then realize I'm a native speaker. Whoops. Also funny to hear people talking about me in the other language. English speakers when I'm in Poland. Polish speakers in the UK. Often being rude. Assuming I don't understand. Just as simple as that, so? Or some small phrase and people go all red. I was in my mid-40s at the time. My son's babysitter, who was on the high school track team, challenged me to a foot race 200 yards or so. Big mistake. I don't know why. I have never run competitively or trained in any way. But I can run. I'm 64 now and have 8 kids. None of whom has ever beat me in a foot race. They still occasionally try. 8 kids? You don't need to train or stuff to be a superhuman with 8 kids. Oh.